Hi everyone, welcome to 13 Nights of Fright here on my channel. From now until Halloween, I will be uploading a spooky short every day to get you into that spooky Halloween season feel. If you would like to not miss an upload, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and please make sure that your notifications are turned on. Today's spooky tale comes from Reddit. I found a couple of, I found one on Reddit and I found one on the Occult Museum. And then there was, I think I found one on a different web source. So I have a couple of spooky tales of the open road. So if that is something you would like to hear, please stay tuned. Grab a blanket, your beverage of choice, light a candle, maybe light some sage, and let's get into today's stories. This first tale comes from a truck driver, and he said around 2006-ish, so around that time frame, I was driving a flat red pickup, a load of construction material in Royal Tennessee. Memory is foggy now, but I want to say it was between Memphis and Nashville, but closer to the intersection of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee state lines. A tarp was required to strap everything down, so I tarped my haul and set off on my way. About 5 miles down the road in the middle of nowhere in the woods on a 2-lane road, I noticed my tarp flapping in the wind. I found a wide shoulder and pulled over to fix it. I realized that I did a pretty shitty job tarping this load and decided to redo it on the side of the road. I climb up and I unstrap the bungees and the tarp, roll them back up, and then climb back up on top of the truck. And as I'm on top of the truck, unrolling the tarp, I see a guy walking down the same side of the road I am on, coming towards my truck. I don't think anything about it other than to keep an eye on him because I'm in the middle of nowhere, and continue doing what I'm doing. About the time I have the tarps set in place and am climbing down to start hooking the bungee straps back on, this dude is getting closer. Close enough that I am now paying more attention to him than I am to tarping my load. I grab a winch bar and set it on the trailer where I am working, just in case I need to use it. The guy gets to me, and the first thing I notice is his hair. It's like a mullet, but it's patchy as fuck. Like he tried to cut his own hair and had a seizure in the process and said, "F it, I'm good enough to party." The next thing I noticed were his eyes, which I can only describe as off. Like they were clear. I didn't think he was drunk or high or anything, but it also gave me the distinct impression that the elevator didn't go all the way up. Clothes were dirty, not well maintained. With dirty white tennis shoes, I could remember he didn't have laces on one shoe and the tongue was noticeably out of place. He stops by me, waits until I acknowledge him, and just says, "I've got a long walk." I'm like, "Yeah, man, you do. We're in the middle of nowhere," making it clear there's no ride to be had here. He nods and starts walking by me, continuing on his way. Stops at about the driver's door on my truck and turns around and comes back to me and repeats himself. "I've got a long walk." At this point, I explain that I can't give him a ride, insurance, and all that, apologize for not being able to help him out, and he seems to accept this and turns around and leaves. I wait for him to get a little ways away from my truck and start working on finishing the tarp job. I still keep my eye on him as he's moving away from me. As I'm putting the last of the bungee straps, I look over to check where he's at, and he's turned around heading back towards me. Now at about 100 yards from my truck and coming my way. It looks like he's talking on a cell phone. He has his hand up to his face, and I can barely make out his mouth moving. His other hand is waving like he's having a conversation with someone. I finish with the straps, grab my winch bar, and I'm climbing into my truck as he's about 10 yards away now. Soon as I'm in the cab, I lock the doors and set the winch bar on the passenger seat, just in case. I look at the guy and realize he's not talking on the phone. He's talking to his hand. Now I'm nervous because he doesn't look like he's having a pleasant conversation. It looks more like an angry chat. I crank up the truck and put it in gear and just pull out. Didn't look for traffic or anything. As I pass him, he's just looking at me, still holding his hand to his face, with his dead-ass look on his face, just staring at me, giving me the creeps. About the time I hit the 5th or 6th gear, I look in the rearview mirror, and he's nowhere to be seen. So what do you guys think of that story? Do you think this was an actual, just a mental person that was, you know, walking down the sides of the road? Or do you think this was a ghost? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, so our next creepy story comes from the Occult Museum website, and it's in an article that's called 5 Creepy Tales of, what is it? 5 Creepy Tales, 5 Disturbing Trucker Stories. So this, if you guys want to look up the article, you can. But, so this one is called The Shapeshifter. Many years ago, I was on a shift called Meet and Turn. This is where the driver that is domiciled out of the city will drive a load halfway to its destination and bring the load where it needs to be delivered. I had been doing runs like these for several months, and I found out that I had to meet on a point, an hour before the other driver had arrived. It was dark and an empty lot around 3 a.m. So since there was still time to kill, I decided to close my eyes and take a short nap. About 10 minutes into my nap, I was awakened by a barking dog. I tried to ignore it, but the bark carried on for several of minutes. It grew louder and closer. At this point, it became clear. He's either trying to alert me of something, or he's just being a pain in the butt. So I sat up and looked out my window, and what I saw left me motionless. Standing there, inches on the other side of the glass, was a man, about 35 years of age. He was a large fellow, and he was barking at me. His eyes were crazy. He was even frothing a little from his mouth. The sheer creepiness struck me, and gently, without making any sudden movements, I reached down, started my truck, and slowly started pulling away. As I was doing so, he started to chase after me, much like you would expect an angry dog, and still barking as I kept pulling away. Needless to say, I don't take naps on the job anymore. So do you think that this guy, much like the other story, do you think that this guy was crazy? Or do you think he actually encountered some sort of like shapeshifter, or maybe a ghost, maybe a demon? Let me know in the comment section below. Not only do we hear tales from truckers and other motorists, some of abduction stories, some of, ghost stories, hitchhikers, creepy stuff like that, but people also do pass through some creepy towns. And if you're on the road, you might pass through a Wild West boom town or ghost town. So I got this from a blog. What one is this? If you want to look it up, I got it from, hold on, Cheapism. So these are 19 spooky ghost towns across America, and I picked the one that I found to be the spookiest. So we are going to talk about the town of